This mutation is called Charnel House, and it is played on minor evacuation. We have 3 mutators active. We have Black Death, we have Photon Overload, and we have Darkness. Now, I do feature mutation solos, and usually the players who will be soloing the mutations will pick a commander that is, not overpowered, but generally okay. But this time, we have Stixbender, who will be playing probably the worst commander for this mutation, Artanis. Because remember, the Guardian Shell does not really help him very much. His units are expensive, they're all fragile, and they take an insane amount of damage because of Black Death. So he is going to be doing the mutation with Artanis. He is playing the Archship Commandant per stage, which is the standard P3 Artanis. And you can see over here now he's going to drop an Archon, a couple of Archons, more Archons over here. Unfortunately, as is typical with this observer interface, whenever the orbital strikes are used, the minimap will disappear, so my apologies for that, but I will bring it back as quickly as I can. So you can see he's already taken out his expansion over here, and we do have a few infested that are harassing some of his base right now, and we have some more infested over here as well. So already there is a lot of chaos. So what is he going to do? He's going to drop some more Archons over here, and is he going to drop one more over here to try and deal with his base? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So he's just going to lure these sets of infested away, and notice what he did over there is he pulled the infested away so that the infested would not actually infect his probes, because if he loses all his probes, then he's just gonna lose the game instantly. So we have some photon cannons being used as well. Using this warp field over here, no pylon being used, just a warp field to drop his cannons down. I haven't even gotten to the masteries yet, and this game is already going pretty insane. But we have some more aggroing of infested here. So let's quickly go through the masteries. 30 points of the shield overcharge mastery, 30 points of the warp speed mastery, and 30 points in Spear of Adun energy mastery. The enemy composition is the classic infantry, so this is going to be a ground Terran biological composition, so not too bad. But again, we now have a cannon over here. So these cannons are going to be used to not only draw aggro of the infested that will be attacking his expansion, but also drawing aggro of the infested that will be attacking the ship in the future. You can see these infested are slowly starting to take this down. Is the cannon going to survive? Oh, unfortunately, the cannon does not end up surviving, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that is fine. Artanis does have a few minerals to spare so far in this game. So now he's going to be putting down one extra pylon over here. And unfortunately, this pylon has the warp field that he used here has been pulled away, so he's not going to be able to research anything from his forges just yet. Eventually, he might want to get his attack upgrades, but it's not a priority right now. His goal is to try and defend this ship. The panic launch is going to be in 20 seconds time. That is going to be when the Nice Worms and all the rest of the infested are going to be spawning here. We do have Photon Overcharge that is aggroing some more of these things, but 4 Photon cannons on the northern side, and that should be enough to hold the infested throughout the course of this mission. So yeah, Charnel House. Apparently, I didn't know Charnel House was actually a thing, but apparently it is a vault where human remains are stored. So you learn something new every day. See, Starcraft teaching people new things every single day. But the evacuation ship now is going to start launching, and there is now an aggro of infested over here. And these photon cannons should have absolutely no problems dealing with the infested. The first Nice Worm is going to spawn, and this Nice Worm will also get focused down by the photon cannons. Do note that, I don't know if you noticed that, but the Nice Worm does trigger photon overcharge when it spawns, so that is something to take note of. And now we do have a solar bombardment being used over here to deal with that one Nice Worm. He does not want stuff spawning from that Nice Worm. Again, focus down from the photon cannon onto this other Nice Worm, making sure there are no enemy units that are spawning here. And so far, so good. This is being held reasonably well. So some more photon cannons coming along. He's noticed that this one photon is kind of losing its fight against the infested. So he's down to 3 right now. He may have to put down another one, but he has to be a little bit careful. He does not want his probes infected, because as soon as one probe gets infected, it will pass its infection on to the other probes if it's too close to them. But yeah, so I think we have one gas saturation over here. He's going to be saturating his gases here right now. And over here, one more photon cannon go down. There are a few volatile infested that are being a little bit annoying, but this ship is going to launch right here. It really doesn't matter if he's lost those photon cannons. They are disposable as far as Artanis is concerned. So first ship has been held, and you can see how hectic of a game this is going to be. The other thing to note is, do you remember, unfortunately, that attack wave has made its way and taken out that one innocent probe that was just trying to scout for the next evacuation ship. But the one thing I wanted to draw your attention to as well is that on the minimap, once the minimap comes back, we'll wait for this to come back, yeah. So once, with darkness active, you do not know which evacuation ship is going to launch next. So you actually have to go in and scout and either manually launch the ship or try your luck and see which one is going to go into the next panic launch. I would personally prefer the idea that you just go and launch an evacuation ship as quickly as possible. You can see there's an attack wave coming up over here, so it's very likely that this next evacuation ship is going to be this one that'll be panic launching. So you can take advantage of some of the attack wave markers on the minimap as well. But we have a Robo and we have a Stargate out right now for Artanis, so he's going to be mixing up his army. And this is one of the issues that Artanis faces, not even on this mutation, but on this map in general. He has a fat army problem. His army is generally like kind of fat, and he doesn't have the damage output, the damage density output that he needs. So a lot of armies, they can kind of stack up. They have very small units, very small footprints, so you can get a large number of units in a small area, which is, you know, these areas where you're defending the evacuation ships. Artanis has Dragoons, which is, you know, his viable option here. Zealots aren't particularly practical, but he has Dragoons and Tempests and Phoenixes and Immortals and Archons, and all those units have really, really large footprints, so he can't really get very many units jammed up in a certain area here. So usually what he's forced to do is build these a large spread of units, so, you know, he's going to be using air and ground units so that he can defend the evacuation ships and just get enough damage out here. But now do remember that he is using P3 Artanis, and P3 Artanis has a lot of advantages to P3 Artanis. His Archons themselves, if you are actually able to time your orbital strikes and lengthen the time where you drop your orbital strikes, you can actually lengthen the time the Archons are around and, you know, defending the evacuation ship. So what I mean by that is, oh cool, the excavator came out. This is also a little Easter egg there. Sometimes the excavator will come out here. It just gets moved away by the probe. But yeah, what you can do is not drop 5 orbital strikes all at the same time. Is you can drop 1 or 2 and just, you know, lengthen the amount of time before you use your orbital, like each orbital strike charge, and just having an Archon out, because 1 or 2 Archons is more than enough to hold these evacuation ships. That being said though, it means that you are not able to issue commands to the game, so you cannot build stuff, you cannot move your army around, so that is something else, and you also lose access to the minimap, which may also be a bit of a detriment. So it is something that you can do if you find necessary. So we have a few Tempests over here. This Tempest actually getting hit by Photon Overload, and look at the kite back here, just does not want to take unnecessary damage on these Tempests. So with P3 Artanis again, usually a good idea to build Tempests. The Dragoons and whatnot aren't particularly viable units because they don't have access to this very important ability, the Guardian Shell, and just not having access to that is a bit of a problem. So we have a lot of Photon cannons right now, and the evacuation ship has been launched. These Tempests are going to be able to hold, and I have no doubt that there will be a few orbital strikes that will be coming out, especially once the Banshees start to spawn. It might be somewhat important. You might also be saving the solar bombardment for use with those Banshees. So one of those Photon cannons already goes down. There are a lot of volatile infested, and those volatile infested actually do a lot of damage as well. They deal an insane amount of damage to structures. But these Tempests being parked on the back line, and they are able to hold as well. And remember, this is just a stalling game at the moment. Just stall as much as possible, build your army on the back, and hopefully you don't lose the game there. But this one probe unfortunately has been infected by the Black Death, and now we have the Banshees that have spawned here. So yeah, we have solar bombardment. Artanis is just having none of that. Just dropping the solar bombardment on these Banshees. Banshees end up getting cleared out, and this evacuation ship is pretty much safe. That is basically the most difficult part of this evacuation ship. It's just dealing with that large spawn of Banshees that have a very high range. Now these Tempests are going to be attacking, but they're going to be kited back a little bit. They do not want to be getting too close to these infested, because a lot of these infested do have the Black Death debuff, and they do not want to get infected there. So some more aberrations over here as well. So overall, really, really good here. And there was an attack wave on the northern side, so this attack wave does get dealt with a few of the unbound fanatics over here. Let's get this mini-map back. And over here, again, another set of Unbound Fanatics. So 3 charges here, 2 charges on the northern side to deal with the attack wave. These Unbound Fanatics have cleared out this next evacuation ship. So again, a lot of casualties in terms of pylons and in terms of photon cannons. But this is pretty much all Artanis has in that he can do to it. And again, notice what he did over there. He didn't go and just 8-click to clear those infested, because those things would have gotten hit by the Black Death debuff. He moved his guys over the high ground, got within range, and then he shot them down. And we are going for level 1 attack upgrades for these Tempests. They also have the Disintegration upgrade. I'm not really sure the Disintegration upgrade is particularly useful on this map, but you know, always useful to have them. You might as well just get them, and it'll be more Tempests coming out as well. And now the rest of these structures now will end up getting cleared out, and whatever is left will, yeah, nothing really is within range as well, which is nice. These Tempests have an insane amount of range, which makes them really good when you're dealing with Black Death. Their auto attack range is really nice and high, outside the range of Photon Overload as well, which is very, very convenient. So this pylon may get attacked by the Photon Overloads, but that structure is going to end up going down soon. I think this pylon did take a little bit of damage, but again, more photon cannons coming out. Aberration trying to run away from the onslaught of these Tempests, but nothing really much the Infested can do against this. So yeah, we just have more photon cannons in production over here, and these photon cannons again are just there to stall. There's a healthy number of Tempests right now. We're dealing about 7 Tempests, so that's gonna be really good. There is an attack wave coming out as well. I think Artanis might end up using another set of orbital strikes just to deal with this attack wave, because again, this attack wave is kind of nasty. Lots of... Oh, we have some zealots being warped in here just to draw aggro. That is actually an interesting utility. So Artanis realized he has a lot of... He has a lot of minerals, and he's going to be pulling a lot of minerals, so he just ends up saving his orbital strikes there and using his zealots instead, being a little bit inhumane with the zealots, but again, he doesn't really need the mineral income very much. So there is a panic launch right now, and I think the evacuation ship might get overridden. I'm not sure whether this thing was on the beacon. Might get overridden here. And we have a cybernetic score being used to block the volatile infested. So you can do this if you want. If you put a structure right on the edge of this cave like this, the volatile infested will spawn, but they will not actually attack the structure and not detonate unless you actually attack them by yourself. So you can do that, and you can basically just not have to deal with volatile infested for the most part in this area, because this area is called the Bane Cave for a reason. It's the bane of people's existence, and a lot of volatile banelings over there. So you can see there are a handful over here, but these Tempests now are slowly starting to climb out in count, and they are going to be able to deal with this next wave, and I think they will be able to hold reasonably well. And actually, very surprisingly, no Archons being used so far. I think there might be an Archon spawn over here. There's just an observer that's just having a look around to see what is going on. So again, we have a shield overcharge being utilized over here. Attack wave has dropped on top of Artanis's expansion, so he is going to be doing that. 3 Archons getting used over here. And where are the rest of these Archons? Yeah, we have a couple of Archons being utilized here. 2 of these Tempests have been infected with the Black Death Mutators, so that is somewhat unfortunate. These Tempests will end up going down. Attack wave has been dealt with in the expansion very, very easily with the 3 Archons that have spawned. And these Tempests, now this Aberration is getting a little bit too close to the evacuation ship, and now we have another set of Archons being spawned just to draw a little bit of aggro. Artanis does not want to end up losing this evacuation ship. This is one of the easier ones, so you kind of don't want to end up losing those. Those Archons now will end up dying, and as soon as they die, these Tempests will also get out of the way because the evacuation ship is going to launch. Over here, this next evacuation ship is also available, and there is an attack wave making its way to that evacuation ship. We do have a solar bombardment available as well for Artanis, so he'll be able to utilize that to either hold. I think he would probably want to use that to hold instead of dealing with the attack wave. I think this is kind of overkill when it comes to just dealing with an attack wave. So he's going to get vision with an observer that is in siege mode. He's slowly going to start working his way and picking off whatever is there. The siege tank is going to siege up, and there is a drop attack over here. Is he going to use his Archons to deal with it? He might have to actually use some Archons to clear this area out. Yeah, he's gonna do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 Archons being used. Now, the one thing I actually forgot to mention as well about this ability, the Orbital Strike with these unbanned fanatics, is that it is still bugged. Blizzard has not fixed the bug where if you target a structure, the Archons will not spawn. So if you target a structure or something that is unmovable, something like a sieged up siege tank, if you put it right on top of them, the Orbital Strike will deal its damage, but the Archon will not spawn, and you will have wasted your Archon. So again, pay attention to that when you're positioning it. You can position it on the edge of the structure, so you can still damage the structure and spawn the Archon, but pay attention to your positioning if you do intend, for whatever reason, to use the Archon during this mission or during this mutation. So we have some more Tempests being spawned as well right now. We have a Chrono on the Stargate just to try and get some more Tempests out. Artanis sitting at only 100 supply, floating 1,700 gas. But you can see his priority is just stalling. This is the whole priority of this mission. Stall as much as you possibly can by building gateways, building photon cannons, and more gateways and more pylons. The evacuation ship is going to get launched over here, and I have a very strong feeling he might end up using the solar bombardment for the wave of hybrid that'll spawn on this side, because they're actually very, very constrained and confined to the spot here. So it might be a really nice utility to try and do that. Unfortunately, the Aberration is going to die and infect the 3 probes that were used, and so there will be a lot of casualties over here. Probes just checking out this Aberration, just having a look, seeing what's going on. And again, lots of Aberrations spawning. Tempests do get pulled back just a little bit, and the rest of these things as well going to be held for a while with these Tempests. We have 60 seconds left on the timer. 60 seconds doesn't seem like a lot of time, but when you can see the onslaught of Infested that are coming up, it is a very, very long time. So we already have 3 hybrids over here. So he's probably going to be using Disintegration on these things. And yeah, there we go. Down comes the Solar Bombardment. The Solar Bombardment is going to clean up the hybrids, and those Banshees really have nothing that they can do against the rest of this stuff here. Over here, there is another attack wave, and what is the goal over here? Just some High Templars now being utilized as well. He also has a Psionic Storm upgrade and the Plasma Surge, so that's actually really nice. And finally, we have a set of Orbital Strikes being used to just deal with the tail end of this little harass that is coming up here. So this evacuation ship is going to launch. There's enough HP on this evacuation ship to survive, even if all of these units focus them down. And again, Artanis just staying away from these Banshees. I don't like, it's very difficult to tell which Banshee is infected. You can see over here, these 3 Tempests have been infected by the Black Death Mutator. He's going to pull them back. Yeah, there we go. Let's pull them back. And also notice how the Black Death Mutator just ignores shields. So this is exactly what the problem is, like with Artanis. Artanis' units are very, very delicate, and they're very expensive, and very, very difficult to replace them with a mutator like Black Death active, which just randomly just deals damage to your army, so it's always better try and keep them alive. Interestingly enough, these High Templars have actually not been infected by the Black Death mutator from that attack wave, which is very surprising, but there you go. Sometimes good things happen in this game. So those were 4 evacuation ships so far. This is the last one there to deal with, so Artanis is just gonna go ahead and clear this one out. This is the one that spawns siege tanks all over the spot, so this can get a little bit hairy if he's not paying attention. He will need maybe a little bit more vision. Maybe a few observers would have been nice here, just to provide extra vision to see where those siege tanks are coming from. But yeah, there we go. So we have observers now over here, and these observers will provide a little bit of vision, just providing him with the vision to see those siege tanks from long range, because those siege tanks have actually a lot of range. If they start shelling this evacuation ship, you can end up losing them if you're not paying attention. So saving up just a little bit more energy on his orbital strikes. It's 30-second cooldown. He definitely has enough energy for one. I don't know if he's gonna have enough energy for a second one. He may also want to wait a little bit so that his solar bombardment is kind of ready. So by the time he's launching the evacuation ship and things get really bad, he will have enough energy on the orbital strikes, and he'll have his cooldown on solar bombardment reset so that he can deal with this. There is another attack wave over here, and he is actually going to send a few... Okay, so he's actually going to storm these guys. These guys are going to end up, a lot of them going down. I think a few more Zealots are in order, but is that going to happen? Some Tempest over here. One Marine very mad with this Tempest. And there are some Siege Tanks over here. Oh, he's going to chase after that. Is he actually going to go after them? It's tempting, but I don't know if it's like... I don't know... Oh, he's going to do that. He is not going to let that evacuation ship go down. He wants to keep the evacuation ship for spare parts in case something goes wrong with the other evacuation ships. But yeah, those are all cleared out. And I think that is fine. I think the evacuation ship has been saved. Again, some more storms coming out. Plasma surge research has also been researched, which means the damage from the psionic storms stack on top of each other. So that's one thing to note, especially if you're playing P1 Artanis. Very important upgrade here. Plasma surge will allow your psi storm damage to stack. So if you're playing P1 and you want that double damage, make sure you get this upgrade, because then you can just spam your Psi Storms on top of Amon's forces. So over here we have a Zealot that is going to do his little ballerina move and clear out this one Siege Tank. Siege Tank is shelling away these pylons over here, and this evacuation ship has still not been launched so far. One probe randomly getting stuck in between the Photon cannons, but it happens to the best of us. So yeah, overall all good to go. There's a panic launch in 3 minutes, so I think Artanis is just going to spend his time and just build up his static defenses over here. Another attack wave coming up, and we have some Archons being used to deal with this one attack wave. So 3, 4, 5 Archons. Yeah, he realized like there's no point in keeping these charges. He unfortunately did have to use one set of charges of orbital strikes, so there's probably not going to be another one available before the evacuation ship ends up launching. It might be really, really close. You might be able to catch the tail end of that, but evacuation ship will launch in 5 seconds, and that is when the units will start to spawn. Good number of Tempests so far. How many Tempests is he sitting on right now? He has 17 Tempests, which is more than enough. Remember that Tempests deal a lot of overkill to Amon's forces, so especially with the Infested, they don't really have a lot of HP. When you have like 17 Tempests that focus down on a single unit, you're kind of wasting a lot of charges. So he's utilizing these Photon cannons to pad out the attacks on his army, and you can just see how quickly these Photon cannons just fall down, because lots of aberrations slapping away. He does use a shield overcharge over here to just keep these Photon cannons alive, just providing them with a little bit of extra shield, making them a little bit more useful. And now the hybrids have spawned, so very nice positioning on a solar bombardment right in the key choke point over there. All those hybrids end up getting smoked by that solar bombardment. And now the siege tanks are going to start spawning as well from the drop overlords that are coming out, the dropper lords. But again, more aberrations being spawned over here. Artanis' army now has started to get infected by the Black Death. He has spawned some more High Templars just to storm down these siege tanks. Again, some more hybrids spawning. 30 seconds left. He has to hold. His army is infected with Black Death, but it doesn't really matter. And now down come the Unbound Fanatics. Those things are just going to melt through a lot of the infested. They have a lot of shields, and this is what I was talking about. Just staggering your orbital strikes. Just, drawing aggro, using them to tank the damage output. And those are all the evacuation ships saved. Look at the amount of casualties. 96 Photon cannons down, but 25 Zealots, Unbound Fanatics, High Templars, lots of carnage, but Artanis has able to solve this mutation, and that is GG.